Hello folks, welcome to Outdoors with Bud. I'm your host, Bud Fields. Once again, we want to thank the people at the Legacy Barn here just west of Kokomo for allowing us to use their facility. I just shot a segment and I was talking about arrows, and now I'm going to talk about the business end on the arrows. That's the arrow points and arrow heads. Okay, there's several different types and they're used for different things. If you're just going to shoot in your yard into a straw bale or a mat target, one of the points that you're going to be using basically is going to be what they call a target point or a field point. They're shaped like a bullet, and there's no expansion to them at all. It goes in and out of the target quite easily. But a lot of times, I mean, you could, if you wanted to hunt like groundhogs, you could use one of these and take a groundhog or a squirrel or a rabbit, but they're not designed for hunting purposes. Another type of a point is what they refer to as a blunt. Now this is a rubber blunt. Now it's got a hole in the one end, and your arrow shaft, it just pushes onto your arrow shaft just like that. Now there's no blades on this, there's no sharp points, it's blunt. It's flat, and this basically kills by shock when you shoot this. If you shoot a rabbit, and I've taken a lot of groundhog, squirrel, I've shot fox, I've shot coyotes with this, but normally there's no penetration. It's going to hit, and it's going to do some damage by hitting. Okay, now that's referred to as a blunt. Now another blunt we used to use, I can't remember if it was 38 or 45 caliber bullet cartridges. You could put right over the end of your shaft, you could glue them on or just slide them on, and you could hunt with those. But those are just basically your target point for shooting in your yard and recreation. The blunt you could use for small game. Now, the other types of heads are referred to as broadheads. Now these are used strictly for hunting purposes. Now you got to be careful when you handle them. But there were some that was referred to as a fixed blade. Now I hope you can see this real good. This is a one-piece broadhead. Now it does have a little adapter on the back of it, where when I was talking about the arrows, there's little bushings inside the shaft, and this is threaded on the end. You put that in there and you just tighten this up. And then if you want to take it off to sharpen it, you can just simply unscrew it, or if it's damaged, and then you could replace it. Now there's been a lot of deer taken with fixed blade broadheads. And I'm going to show you some different ones here. Now I know there's a bunch more that I don't have. Over the years I've come up, they've disappeared. I don't know whether I gave them away or loaned them out or what. But once again, this is a fixed blade broadhead. Now these, normally you can get them to shoot pretty well out, but what you got to be careful is when they're all one piece, a lot of times when they're machining them, and they've got pretty stringent customer support and engineering and dimensions and everything for the specifics. A lot of times when they're milling this, if this is not lined up perfectly perpendicular and it's out of line, when you screw that in, it's not going to be straight, and you're going to get a wobble out of your arrows. Now here's another type of a fixed blade. Now some fixed blade broadheads, you can either resharpen them, or some of them has got replaceable blades, and I'll show you one of those. This is another one-piece broadhead. Now you notice it's got kind of fins that's opened up. A lot of people noticed when they first started making this type, compared to this that is all solid, this reduced some of the physical weight, which gained you a little more speed. But it also gave you a little more chance of having a wind whistle. If you've ever went down the road and somebody passed you, or you're in your yard and somebody went by you that had like a little luggage rack on the top of their vehicle, and you could hear the wind blowing through that. The same thing happened on some of these earlier broadheads. As it was flying through, you could hear the wind whistle, and it sounded just like a whistle, and a lot of the deer heard that too. But they've come a long way and they eliminated that. Now if you notice, some of these are smaller diameter, but they're very efficient. This is one of the fixed blade broadheads. It's got little set screws in it that you can take an Allen wrench, and if that blade was broken or bent or you couldn't sharpen it again, you could put replaceable blades in there. And the ferrule here is slotted. You put that blade in there and you slide it down, you tighten up them Allen wrenches, and you're good to go. Now here's a little bigger broadhead that is a fixed blade. And these, I've taken a lot of deer with these. Matter of fact, just about everything I'm showing you here, I've taken quite a few deer with them. The blades are a little thicker. When they first started putting replaceable blades on them, the blades were so thin that if it went into a deer and it hit a rib or a shoulder, the blade would break. And then there were some people that when they were having their deer processed, some of the people that was doing the processing were cutting their fingers because there was a piece of that blade still left in there. And then it was concerned about eating the meat. Is there a piece of that blade in there? But they've made these blades much more thicker and more durable. And the flight characteristics on them are fantastic. Okay, here's another type of a fixed blade broadhead. Now, this is a 3-blade, and this is a 3-blade. All of them that I've showed you so far has been 3 blades, but they do make some that are 4-blade. Okay, now here's a fixed blade that is a 4-blade broadhead. This is a 4-blade. Once again, this part here screws into the little bushing, and once this point gets in, oh, I'm going to say less, about 1/8 of an inch. The rest of this is actual razor blade, and you got to really be careful when you're handling them. I told my cameraman I was going to consider myself lucky if I got out of here with all 10 of my fingers. Now here's another example of a 4-blade broadhead. Now these normally weigh anywhere from 90 grains upwards of 150 grains, depending on how heavy of a bow. Now we're going to get into what they refer to as mechanical blades. Now this is a, you notice this is a blue shape. This is the exact same weight of the Rage broadheads that I use. This is 125 grains. Now the thing about this is it does have blades on it, but these blades do not deploy. And I'm going to show you what I mean by deploy. Here's a mechanical broadhead here. It's got a little rubber band on this. When this flies, this is going to fly just exactly like a field point because there's nothing going to be obstructing it. And after this, when it hits, if I can get this down here, this has got a rubber band actually holding the blades in. Now, when this hits the animal, that rubber band will fly down, and these blades will come out like this. And that's what it's going to look like as it enters the animal. In flight, it's going to be like this, and the blades deploy from the front. When that hits the height of the deer, these blades will automatically open just like that. And that's going to put a pretty good sized hole in the animal. Okay, I'll close that up later. Now here's another one. This is one of the new Thorn broadheads. You can actually use this same broadhead for practicing. There's little set screws in here that you tighten it up and it will keep the blades from deploying. But once it hits, those blades will open just like the ones that I was showing you there. Now here's another one. This is one of the Rage broadheads. It's got a little red bushing on the end of it. When that hits, that color will slide back, and then these blades will deploy from the back. The other one deployed from the front. This one, the blades will come up, and it will make a hole about the same diameter. Now I'm going to show you a couple that you've probably never seen in forever. This is referred to as a guillotine. This is the one that it will have razor blade. It's got razor blades up here, and it's got notches in the blade, and there's going to be a rubber band goes in there. And in flight, that's going to fly just like a field point. It's not going to have any wind whip. Now, once it hits, these blades deploy, and that's what that looks like. Now, a lot of people think, okay, you're deer hunting, your arrow goes through a deer, the hole is going to be the diameter of that shaft. That is not true. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to give you an idea of the size of the hole that this is going to give. I've got a pretty good sized hand. I'm going to take both of my hands to show you. That gives you an idea right there of the size of the hole that can make. Now, this was not designed for deer hunting. This was designed for shooting at turkey and some of the ducks. Most of the guys, when they're hunting for turkey with a bow, they shoot for the head. If the arrow does miss, those blades do deploy, and they've still got a good chance of, even if that blade, if the point misses, that blade's still going to hit, and that will take the head completely off of a turkey. Okay, now this is one of the new heads that I'm experimenting with this year. This is made by Spitfire. Now this is mechanical. This is a front deploying blades. When this goes in, all it has to do is penetrate maybe 1/8 of an inch. And when it does that, these blades, once it contacts the hide, is going to open up, and there's the size of the hole that this blade will make. Very, very lethal. And then all you do, like most of the time when you use any of these type of broadheads, you're going to get complete penetration unless it hits the shoulder blade or a big bone of some kind. But all you do is when you get your arrow, there's slots right here inside of the ferrule that those blades go into. All you got to do is I usually take it and I'll clean the arrow shaft off. I'll clean the broadhead off. I'll take a razor blade and clean these little slots off, and then I will resharpen those blades. Then I will push them right back down inside of there. Now, I don't know whether you heard that snapping or not, but all 3 of those are snapped back into place, and you're ready to go hunting again. Now, where did this all start? Right here. I don't know how well you're seeing this, but this is an old stone-type flint broadhead used by Indians. I found this in the field behind my house. I'm not really a hunter of broadheads, and I don't know how many times I passed over this thing and never found it, but when the farmer's out there plowing, they're turning all that dirt up, they turn up a lot of things. But really, this is pretty pristine. I know there's some a little better, but there's a lot of them that's far worse. But this is where it all started, folks. Geronimo and Cochise and all those guys that you see on the John Wayne movies, this is what they use. This is where it started. And this is where so far it's ending. Well, I'm saying ending, but I'm sure over the years they're going to make more improvements to it. Now, people ask me, which is the best to use, a fixed broadhead or a mechanical broadhead? I've taken a lot of deer in my 60-year career, folks, and I've used all of these that I'm showing you right here. The best broadhead to use is the one that you prefer. It's all personal choice. You can go out and buy you a Lexus and drive it just about anywhere you want to go, or you can go out and buy you a Volkswagen and you can go the same place. It's what you want. It's personal preference. To me, the best broadhead to use is a sharp one, whether it be fixed blade or whether it be a mechanical blade. A well-sharpened broadhead, well placed on an animal, and that animal is going to be toast. Unless you make a bad hit on it, and one of the upcoming art segments I'm going to do is the anatomy of a deer, where I'm going to maybe show you some pictures of where you should place your arrow or your bullet to harvest that deer. Because if you're going to go out there hunting, you owe it to the deer itself. I mean, I respect every animal, and it's not unusual for me to go up to an animal that I've taken, kneel beside that animal, and I'll take my hunting cap off, and I'll say a prayer. thanking God for giving me the opportunity to go after this animal, and for that animal to end up in the freezer to help me feed my family and some of my family and friends. So once again, folks, archery has progressed through the years. If you would have told me 60 years ago I'd be using this type of broadhead or the arrows that I discussed in the other segment, I'd have probably disagreed with you. But here we are. Where are we going to go in the next 60 years? I won't be here, but hopefully you will, and you'll remember some of this stuff. But whatever you're going to use, if you're going to change your broadheads, do it well in advance and make sure that that change is what you're wanting, so you can change back to the other procedure. So thanks for coming in, and look forward to seeing you again. Good luck hunting. God bless you. We'll see you down the road.